guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the short luteal phase and what it is, what you need to know about it, when it can cause problems. Gosh, the short luteal phase. I wish more women knew about it. I only learned about it when I started trying to have a baby with my husband. We started trying after we got married in May 2019. And I had a very regular period. It came every 28 days. And I was like, oh, we're not going to have a problem. My hormones are so balanced. I don't get PMS. I don't get cramps. Like just these signs that our body can tell us that things are off, I wasn't experiencing. So just kind of observing my cycle for 2 months, I started noticing, okay, I'm ovulating on day 18 and then my period's coming on day 28. So basically, like, our cycle has a lot of math associated to it, and the length of our cycle phases is actually really powerful for our body, whether you want to have a baby now or one day, or if you want to get rid of PMS and period problems. Understanding the math of your cycle is really helpful. So I read the book, Taking Charge of Your Fertility, which I'll link for you. It's more of like a manual on like fertility, like more of like a research manual. Like, it's pretty intense. And I remember feeling pretty overwhelmed about it. And I actually went in with the intention of like, I just want to focus on what I need. And I don't want all this extra information that I don't, because I find it too overwhelming. So that is the book where I first learned about the short luteal phase and how much it can hinder fertility and having a healthy cycle. So on everyday wellness, having a healthy luteal phase can be between 10 and 14 days. And so mine was about 10 days. So I didn't have any PMS or period problems. And if you find yourself in that boat and don't want to conceive, then maybe that is healthy for you at that time in your life. But if you are going to conceive, Taking Charge of Fertility mentioned that for fertility, the luteal phase should be 12 to 16 days. And what that means is you need enough progesterone, you need enough time in the luteal phase for progesterone to rise enough to be able to thicken the lining of the uterus so that a fertilized egg can implant. So without enough time and without like a thick enough lining and enough progesterone in your body, an egg might not implant. And that's kind of what I noticed on our journey. Was I was like, I think we're getting pregnant a few times, but it wasn't sticking. So I have another video about the 3 parts of trying to get pregnant and like what happens in terms of like your body and having an egg actually implant. So it's like, you have to make sure you're ovulating correctly. You have to make sure that your egg and your husband's sperm are coming together. And then you have to make sure that your body has enough progesterone and that your thyroid can heat your body up enough to be able to have an egg implant. Those are the 3 stages of trying to get pregnant. So I noticed like, I don't think that I'm having enough progesterone here. So you can tell if you're having a short luteal phase by doing some counting. So either if it's less than 10 days, you absolutely want to focus on fixing that. And it's really about the hormone progesterone and making sure that you're optimizing ovulation. The 2 go hand in hand. And then if it's a 10 to 14 day period and you don't want children right now, but you're feeling really healthy in your cycle, then I wouldn't worry about it right now. But when you do want to have children, I would definitely count making sure that it's at least 12 to 16 days. So what can you do about it? So the 2 things you really need to focus on is optimizing your ovulation and making sure that you have enough progesterone in the luteal phase. Those 2 go hand in hand, and I can give some simple tips right now, but everyone's body is different. So if you want additional support, I have a discovery call link below. If you kind of want to dive in deeper, we can do a free discovery call to talk about what's going on with your body. I also have a program, MOODY Meltdowns to Balance Bombshell, which goes over how to optimize ovulation and progesterone. So that could be something that you want to dive into. It's a 6-week self-study course, so you can dive in at your own time. There's certainly foods you can eat. You may need to make some lifestyle changes. So if your body is like too stressed out from like work and too much exercise, and, I don't know, if you're dieting and all, that actually can cause cortisol when your stress hormones to rise and cause your body to actually have an imbalance of progesterone, which basically cortisol and progesterone compete for the same receptor. So if your body's too stressed out based off of your lifestyle, and it can certainly come from food, if you have poor gut health, if you're exercising too much, if you're too stressed from work, like all these things actually contribute to having too high cortisol. And checking your sleep. Like, are you actually sleeping well? If you wake up still tired, that's something to look into, because that's actually not you getting the right enough sleep, and progesterone can take a hit. So I've seen a lot of women too where they have PCOS, so they might have issues with ovulation. If you're more dominant in estrogen and progesterone are sister hormones, so you really want them to be on the right balance. So if you're too dominant estrogen, progesterone is not going to have the supporting building blocks it needs to be able to do what your body needs. And all of that hormone balance actually goes into feeling like really calm and balanced before your period, not holding on to water retention, not having headaches, not having acne breakouts, not having period cramps. Like all this really goes in together. And then it also helps you be able to get pregnant and maintain a healthy pregnancy. So I did take 2 fertility herbs to help move my ovulation into the correct window, and another that would help my body produce more progesterone naturally. But then I also needed to be focusing on my thyroid. My thyroid was slightly underactive. So when I got pregnant with Dylan, I actually had my progesterone tested, my thyroid hormones tested, and I had to take a low dose thyroid hormone when I was pregnant with him. And I did need to supplement with progesterone during the first trimester of his pregnancy. So it's important to understand how all these components come together. And then my husband and I are on our fertility journey for baby number 2. And so I noticed my body was pretty depleted after nursing and having a baby. And so I went back to my naturopath. I got my thyroid tested again, my iron, my progesterone, and all 3 were too low. So it's important to even understand these markers, because I started again counting the luteal phase, and my luteal phase after having Dylan was 10 days. I started ovulating again on day 18, and my period would come on day 28. So my body naturally wanted to settle in at that state. And then after having a baby, went right back to where I was before I even started conceiving. So again, if I wasn't going to try and have children, I wasn't having PMS, I wasn't having period problems, I honestly wouldn't have changed anything, because my body already was feeling really good. But I knew in order to be able to get pregnant, I needed that luteal phase to be longer. I needed my thyroid to be more supported. And then I did start seeing an acupuncturist who could help me really cleanse and reset my liver, because when you're nursing, the blood gets stored in the liver to be able to produce the breast milk. So definitely my body was in this like overworking stage. So she actually helped me rebalance my cycle and kind of reset everything. So I wasn't feeling fatigue after my period. I could definitely tell that like hormonally and my cycle was clicking exactly the way that it's supposed to be doing. So being able to connect with outside providers, I think is really helpful. And just knowing like, do you need extra support? It's, I really don't think that we should be ashamed about getting extra support. And pregnancy for some people can be really easy, and they just show up and they decide to get pregnant and they get pregnant. For me, I needed to do some legwork, and I really needed to prep my body, and I really needed to optimize my body and make it as strong as possible internally to be able to get pregnant. And part of that was really strengthening the luteal phase and understanding the math and what that tells us hormonally of what our body is working with, basically. So I am taking, like, my thyroid took such a hit after having Dylan. I did need to increase thyroid hormone medication, and I have been supplementing with progesterone in the luteal phase, because my body at this time really needs it to be able to support getting pregnant and be able to maintain another healthy pregnancy. So wherever you are in your journey, I hope this really helps. If you need additional support, please book a discovery call. I wish more women understood the math of their cycle and understanding the short luteal phase and what that means in terms of our hormone balance, specifically with progesterone, having a healthy cycle, having a healthy pregnancy, if that's what you decide to do. So I hope this helps in just understanding what could be getting in your way from having a healthy cycle and getting pregnant.